There's a lot of bull in old school sales training, mirroring body language, fake as hell urgency, and uncomfortably high enthusiasm. This is what old school salespeople used to close deals. But in modern times, all of this is crap. It simply doesn't work. And if you're doing any of this, you're probably scaring away your potential buyers. Instead, there are a few surprisingly simple ways that you can instantly build rapport with without coming across as a complete weirdo. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Now in today's video we're going to talk about rapport building, what it is and why it's so important in sales, and then surprise, surprise, it all comes down to the very basic, very biological way that we as humans are hardwired from birth. So once we cover what rapport is, then we're going to cover how you can build rapid rapport with your buyers. And don't worry, we know over at salesman.org that the sales ecosystem has changed since the past couple of years, and we're going to cover techniques that are designed to work over a call or a Zoom meeting rather than these in-person meetings that no one is really having anymore. We're going to cover rapport building skills like nailing a great first impression. We're going to look at what it takes to build trust in the instant that your buyer sees you on camera. What happens if they can't see you? What happens if you're on the phone? Well, we're going to cover 3 impactful techniques for both of these mediums, so you can knock that first impression right out of the park, no matter how you're communicating with your prospect. Next, we're going to look at drawing the prospect in a very biological way, a very human way of building trust. This one's going to be tough to master right off the bat, so we're going to talk a few strategies so that you can implement this on any call moving forward. Then we're going to look at finding common ground. And you're not going to default to talking about the weather here. That's a really weak connection, and 95% of the time it's not going to do anything but waste your buyer's precious time. Instead, we're going to cover the kind of common grounds that you should be hitting and how to hit them. And then last but not least, we're going to look at finding common grounds but on rapport building steroids. And this last technique has very little in common with the previous strategy, but it uses one small but substantial change to drive more trust, build more rapport, and make selling simpler than ever. Now, before we jump in, let's look at the current state of sales. These days, more than ever, the time that you have to win over a buyer is limited. With all of the automation in marketing, most buyers can get through the majority of the sales process, and they can go on websites, they can watch YouTube, they can do all kinds of stuff before they even speak to you on the phone. Added to that, most businesses are facing 3 times as much competition as they would have been in the same segment 15 years ago. So when you do get a buyer on the phone, when you do get a buyer on a Zoom call, you've got to make that time count, because if you don't, they're going to have plenty of other options to go with, and that's where rapport building really does come in. So scientifically here, what is rapport and why is it important to you? Well, essentially rapport is how much your buyer trust you. It's what it takes, whether they take your advice, listen to what you have to say, and ultimately whether they choose to do business with you. And like most things in sales, and this is why we're here, and everything isn't just an automated online form or YouTube video, rapport comes down to a few very biological things. Are you part of the prospect's tribe? Are you on the same side as them? Or are you on the opposite side to where they want to go? That's all rapport is. Because you see, the human brain is wired to keep us close to those that we identify with. These people are our tribe. Our brain is also wired to make us skeptical of people that we're not like, who are in the opposite tribe that might come over the hill at any moment and murder us all. This is called in-group, out-group thinking. And it's this tendency that's at the root of so many social, political, and sales problems today. But to bring all this back to sales, the better you are at building rapport, the more that your buyer is going to see you as part of their tribe, and that makes things so much easier to get the deal done. Okay, so all right, let's get into the meat of this video here. How do you build rapid trust with potential buyers? Well, technique number 1 is nailing a great first impression. And first impressions are the foundation for the rest of your conversation. And for video calls, there are 4 ways to create a great first impression. First off, the obvious one, tied to your opinion, because no one likes working with a slob. No one likes hanging out with slobs. No one trusts a deal worth tens of thousands or millions of dollars with a slob either. So spend a bit of time looking sharp. But Skip the cheesy, weird, probably fake diamond encrusted jewelry here. The goal here is to look like you are somewhat successful. You want to hint at success. And for me personally, that is a polo shirt and a nice watch when I do video calls and sales training and things like that. Perhaps I haven't. This is definitely not true. Perhaps I've just got off a yacht in Monaco when I'm wearing a polo shirt, a nice pair of chino shorts and an expensive watch. That's not the reality, but it hints that that might be the case sometime in the future. Hopefully. Next, we're going to upgrade your camera because we're already at this point now, as I record this video in 2022, we're already deep into the age of remote selling. So if your camera is grainy, it looks crappy, shell out the few extra $100 for a decent quality camera. Doing so is going to make it way easier to form a real human connection with your prospect. And lastly, set the stage. Make sure that you've got adequate lighting, somewhat of a professional background as well on your video call. That might mean moving the call to maybe a more secluded area of your home. If you've got people, kids, dogs, animals running around like psychopaths, usually in the background. Or maybe even get a background screen that you can pull down during calls. Now, on the phone, things are slightly different. Instead of the visuals, we're going to focus on the audio. So, to nail your first impressions on the phone, I want you to smile. No kidding here. Genuinely try it. Do you see how I started to laugh then as I did that cheesy smile? That happens when you smile on the phone as well. People on the other end can tell when you're smiling or not. This has been scientifically shown in a bunch of different studies. This tiny change can make a huge impact on whether your buyer decides to keep listening or whether they subconsciously see you in their peer group, in their tribe or not. Next, you've got to speak confidently and assertively. Because if you're worried about wasting your prospect's time, they're going to hear it in your voice. Instead, remember that you're delivering real value here. Speak your piece with confidence and make sure that your voice is pretty loud and as clear as possible. And finally, don't underrate this one. Don't underestimate it. Get to the damn point. Your prospect's time is limited. And the more that you waste it with fluff and chit chat and just nonsense, they're going to start to resent you for it. It's as simple as that. So now hopefully we've delivered a great first impression to the prospect. Next, we've got to draw them in with a very biological, human way of building trust. What is that, you ask, as you watch this video or listen to the podcast? Well, I want you to make eye contact. Eye contact tells your prospect that you're listening, you're engaged, and that you're ready to help. In fact, we can tell when eye contact is just a little bit off. If someone is looking at your hair, your ears, your chin, it's just centimeters away on your face from your eyes, yet you can tell. And if you're uncomfortable making so much eye contact with someone, especially over Zoom, especially if you're new to sales, then try looking right between the person's eyes. Look at this point here. That's close enough that they're not going to be able to notice, but you're going to give that impression of strong, I dared say the word affectionate, but appropriate eye contact. Now, for your phone calls, this is a little bit harder. So instead, I want you to make ear contact. What the hell does that mean? I want you to really focus on the prospect. I want you to focus so hard on the prospect that they know that you're paying attention. In fact, data from gong.io shows that top sales reps spend more time listening than they do talking. And you should be doing exactly the same on your calls if you want to build rapport with your prospects fast. Okay, the next rapport building technique is that you need to find common ground. So as soon as you start speaking, find something of common interest with the prospect. A great place to start is with any contacts or colleagues or referral sources that you may have in common. This is without the doubt the most powerful social proof that you have. It shows that you're in the tribe, that you're hanging out with the peers, and dropping a familiar name alone is often enough to keep them on the line and to build that rapport with them. Now, of course, you're not going to have common contacts with everyone that you engage with. That's absolutely fine. In this case, it's time to do your research. Look for any content that they've put on social medias, any industry news, anything that they've read or commented on. What you're looking for here is leverage. What's going to perk up their ears and get them saying, oh, I know what this person's talking about. I'm involved with this. I'm in the same tribe as this individual. We're not just salesperson prospect anymore. We're in the same crowd. This is the foot in the door that you need if you're going to keep moving forward with the rapport building process. And the final rapport building technique that we're going to cover in today's video is what we call finding common ground on steroids. This means that we're not just finding common ground, we're finding a common goal. So if they're a buyer and you're working in sales, you're in different businesses, right? But you're also people. And so that means you've got similar goals in life. and I want you to use this. Have they posted on LinkedIn that they're pushing towards early retirement, building enough financial freedom to focus on their hobbies, sending their kids to a great school, they play a certain sport, whatever it is? You've got to lean into these goals, especially and congruently if you have a similar goal yourself. Pretty simple, right? Humans aren't all that complicated when it comes to social interactions, especially one-on-one. Things start to scale up and become more complicated when it's 5,000 humans and 14 million on the other side, and we're all trying to communicate and lots of miscommunication going back and forth. But for one-on-one engagements, when you use these 4 techniques together in order, as I've described, you're going to turn into a rapport building machine. And so there we go. If you enjoyed this video, why not click the videos on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.